it's been remarkable. I mean, just being around all the guys, seeing guys, up close, what they look like, how they go about their routine. One thing Kevin Howard stressed to me coming here was that, you're not looking to fight for a spot. You're looking to learn. You're looking to learn more about yourself, learn more about the process. And I think, as I've talked to the veterans, as I've talked to the older guys, that's a big thing that they stress from me about being here is learn more about yourself, learn more about what you need on the recovery side, how much throwing you need, how much rest you need, days in between, things like that. And just kind of really learning about my body, learning about my process. And so I think those are some of the biggest things that they've taught. And just I find myself every day, I feel like learning more about myself as I pay closer attention to my throwing, as I pay closer attention to how am I sleeping, how's my nutrition, things like that. And so, I think it's really important that this experience is happening this early.
Anything, again, I know it's so early and there's probably a lot that you're taking in, but is there anything that you've either seen from, a deGrom, a Stroman, somebody like that, or any conversation that's really been eye-opening or stood out to you has left you with a certain impression?
Yeah, I think I think there's probably multiple cases so far. Like I said, I've been pretty fortunate that it seems like everything that I do, I'm paired with deGrom, which is obviously awesome to be paired with arguably the best pitcher in all of baseball. But I think probably the biggest thing that was kind of eye-opening that he stressed to me, and we were throwing a touch and feel, finished. We were kind of just chatting, and one of the big things that he told me was not to overcomplicate things. He said the game became easier for him when he stopped overcomplicating things, what's this exact pitch doing constantly, checking the analytics, checking the portal, checking this. And he said it started to become easier when he just focused on how am I going to attack this guy and how am I going to get him out. I think that was a huge conversation. And I think, I for the first time in meeting Stroman, I've met deGrom a couple times, talked to him a couple times. We don't live too far from each other, throwing bullpens together. But meeting Stroman, I think just the type of person he is and how much he cares for the young players and how much he's really out to just help you. He's not looking for any publicity to say he's going to help you or anything like that. He's truly out there just to help you. So, yesterday I was picking his brain on curveball grip, on, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And, he walked me through his exact thinking for his pitches. And I think, that was really eye-opening, just to see the kind of person he is. And, I'm excited to, continue to talk to guys like, Syndergaard and such. So.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Next question is from Tony DeComo.
Hey, Matt. One quick one first. Do you prefer Matt or Matthew?
Matt. Anytime someone says Matthew, I feel like it's my mom saying I'm in trouble.
Okay. So then, Matt, how did you kind of deal with? I know obviously you were at the alternate site for part of last summer, but how did you deal with a lost minor league season? Something that pretty much every minor leaguer had to go through. But what did you do differently to compensate for that? And how do you kind of get over that quote unquote lost year of development?
Yeah, I think it being the first one was really tough because, I was obviously really excited to be in my first spring training and really get the swing of things, kind of get thrown into the fire and see, what's spring training like? How am I going to take care of my body for the whole season? Not just, in high school you play January to end of April, and that's kind of it. And if you're in States, you'll play to, a little past that. But, I think I was really excited for that. Obviously, COVID had different plans, and I think really just the Mets staff, the Mets coaching, they did such a good job of making sure that not only myself, but all of the players were in great hands. They just did such a good job making sure we were throwing, staying in shape, asking, hey, how you doing physically? How you doing mentally? I think that was probably a big thing that, guys struggled with. You're away from baseball for so long that, you're like, oh, this is weird. I'm at my house. I got to, makeshift ways to throw, find people to do stuff while staying in protocol. And I just can't commend, Ricky and the Mets staff and trainers for how well of a job they did of creating throwing plans and such. But I think for me, it was just continuing to throw. I didn't really take too much time off. I think when I got home and got settled, it took me maybe like a week off just to kind of, just see what was going on in the world and talk to my mom. My mom's a nurse, so she was on the front lines. My sister's a nurse, so she was on the front lines. And, kind of just gather some information. But after that, I just went right back to work, started working out, kept throwing, got on the mound, and following the throwing program that ultimately Ricky set out. And then, getting the call to Brooklyn, was awesome. That whole experience, being able to throw there, kind of get a taste for guys with big league time. How do they act, on and off the field? How do they go about their routine? And so I think all of that coupled together, after that going to instructs, I think really, I don't know how many innings I threw, but for the amount of time that I was on the mound, I think it really set me up well this year to have a full, healthy, season.
Great, thank you.
Next question is from Tim Healy.
Hi, Matt. Just to follow up on the Jacob deGrom stuff, I know you guys live near each other. You mentioned it in Central Florida. How often have you gotten together, and how did that come about?
So it started actually during the middle of COVID when facilities in Florida kind of opened up, and we were kind of given the green that like, hey, you're good to start kind of going out, throwing, wear masks, all that stuff. And Patrick Mazeika, basically, I told him like, hey, part of my throwing program is throwing to hitters, and I want to, face minor leaguers. I feel like that's kind of how I'm going to be put in the best position that if I do go to Brooklyn and, going to instructs is face minor leaguers. And so he was like, perfect. Like, he reached out and basically said like, hey, come to Stetson Tuesdays and Fridays, and there's gonna be some guys hitting. I showed up, and I saw deGrom throwing, and I was like, no way. I wish you would have told me this earlier. I would have been able to keep it together a little better. But just seeing him throw and the way that he goes about his business, the focus and intent, it's just, you see why the guy is a back-to-back Cy Young winner. And I threw then, kind of saw him, but didn't really talk too much. He came up, introduced himself. I was wearing like a Mets shirt, so said hi, talked for a little bit, and then basically the conversation opened up a lot more when this year, before I came here, I threw a live again to Patrick, and I saw him there, and I kind of just I was like, well, I'm going to see you at spring training. I've already been told I'm going to be around you, so might as well start picking your brain now. And so we started talking. And, I think that really segued well into coming here. So you didn't have to break the ice. I didn't feel as nervous talking to him or anything. It was just, right into it. So.
And as far as being told that you're going to be around him a lot, is that something the Mets told you specifically? Like, hey, we're basically assigning you to this guy, pick his brain, learn from him?
Yeah. In other words, yeah, Ricky kind of told me like, hey, deGrom's had positive things to say about you, and you're going to be following him in spring training. You're going to be in his group. I think after the first day, I was like, I think the best thing for me that I've noticed with deGrom is it's a two-way conversation. It's not me constantly going up to him, saying hi and talking. He comes up to me a fair share, that we've kind of seen each other and crossed paths and saying like, hey, watched your live the other day. Why did you throw this pitch and this pitch? Maybe think of this. But Ricky basically said, wear him out with questions. Like he's prepared. He knows you're going to talk his ear off. Like just absolutely wear him out with any questions that you have. And so, the chances that I've been around him and felt like it's been a good situation to ask, without intruding on his work, I've asked him an array of questions, and he's always been so good to, give me an honest answer and then give me an explanation, not just say like, this is what I do. He's been really good about saying like, this is what I do and this is why I do it.
Thank you very much.
Next question is from Justin Toscano.
Hey, Matt, good to see you. The organization talked a lot about how it shifted its draft strategy, not only so it could take you, but so it could sign you. You're an important player for the organization. How do you process that on a daily basis, being one of the top prospects?
I think a big thing for me is just knowing that, I belong to the team and knowing that I'm wanted and they have my best interest at hand every day. Whether it's needing an extra day of rest or, maybe I'm tired in the first week of spring training, like they're willing to adjust and they're not just going to throw me into situations that they don't think that it's in my best, that they don't think it's best for me. I think with every decision that they've made, I feel like I've seen that it's always what's best for me in their minds. And, I think I just I can't appreciate that more, that, I feel like they're really looking out for me. They have my back. And, like I said, it's a really cool feeling to know that the support that, the staff and everybody has, behind my back. It's a really cool feeling.
And you mentioned a couple family members being nurses. Were you ever worried about them through the COVID thing, with them being on the front lines?
Yeah, I think originally before I started to understand and they started to explain to me how the whole thing worked, I was kind of nervous. I was like, well, you're coming home and you were just on the COVID floor. Like, no offense, I don't really want to be around you because, you just, I didn't understand. And after talking to my mom and my sister, they made it very clear that they feel that they're actually safest at the hospital. Like, they feel safer at the hospital than they do going out to the grocery store, because they have all the protective gear on, the face mask, N95, face shield, gown, all that stuff. And so my mom has said multiple times to me that, just never get nervous about her going because of just how strict they are in the hospital. But for sure, at first I was pretty nervous about, them coming home and what if I contracted it, and if I were going to go to, Brooklyn, like would that slow the process down? But thankfully, to our knowledge, we haven't tested positive once, and they get tested. I got tested a couple times before coming, and not once have we had anybody in our family of 6 that have tested positive. So really fortunate.
Next question is from Wayne Randazzo.
Hey, Matt, what would you say are some goals for you this season going into what would be your first full year of real pro ball?
I'd say some of the biggest things for me is just to learn, obviously here, learn as much as I can. Going back to what I said, how I'm preparing, how my body feels, just continuing to get better at my self-awareness. So that when I go into season, what's going to be obviously the longest season that I've played, I know how to prepare for. I'm a little sore this day, I'm a little stiff. I need an extra day, or hey, I'm feeling really good, I'm going to go a little aggressive. So definitely continuing to learn myself. But I think the biggest thing for me right now is just continuing to focus on body control in my pitching, throwing strikes, consistent command. I feel like a constant work in progress is all my pitches, but really my changeup. But I think going to Brooklyn, it really excelled past my expectations. It got way better, way faster. And I think that's just because they communicated in Brooklyn that the most important thing is obviously just work on your stuff. There's no real winner or loser. If you get hit around, who cares? Work on your pitches. And so that allowed me to go and throw changeups, 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, 2-1 in these odd counts. And now it's one of my favorite pitches to throw. I threw it in my live BP, and it was the best pitch that I was throwing. And so I think just constantly harping on working on my changeup, and constant body control and learning about myself. Those are some of the goals. And just I think big thing for me is stay healthy and help whichever team I'm on, help them win. I'm a big competitor, and at the end of the day, I want to win. I think for me being in Brooklyn 2 years ago, winning the championship, it's I want to do that again wherever I'm at. I want to be part of a championship team. So
Thank you.
Next question is from Ed Coleman.
Hey, Matt, welcome. You kind of touched upon the question I was going to ask you. We've been told you have a plus fastball and curve, but the changeup is usually the last pitch to come to somebody. But was there somebody that helped you with that when you were in Brooklyn, or did you just refine it by yourself?
No, I definitely had I definitely had talks with multiple guys there. I talked a lot with Ricky, and I think the first step with me was it's a confidence pitch. It's knowing that you're going to throw it and it's going to go and move how you want it. And knowing that you can throw it down the middle and have it play off your fastball. So I think the biggest thing for me originally was it's a confidence pitch. I need to be confident that I'm going to throw it. If you're not confident in any pitch you're going to throw, chances are it's not going to be a good pitch, and there's going to be a lot of damage done. So first thing for me was building confidence in my changeup. Second thing for me was starting to understand the movement profile on it. Like, how do I naturally throw it, and how can I manipulate the ball to play off my fastball, play off my curveball? Because if it's got way too much spin in one direction, then if it's not going to play off my other pitches, it doesn't matter how good it is. And so once I started to understand that, I started throwing with a softball, like a smaller, squishy softball with elevated seams. And that really helped feel like this is what finger it's supposed to come off of. This is what it feels like to throw it properly, so that when I grab a baseball, it feels awesome, because I'm going from a bigger ball to a smaller ball, and I really feel like I have control over it. And then past that, like I said, it's just continuing the confidence of throwing it 2-0, 0-0, 1-0, throwing in these odd counts that in the big leagues you're going to need a 2-0 changeup. The plenty of times deGrom has thrown 2-0 changeup, back-to-back changeup, 3 changeups in a row. And so I think for me it was just in high school you're focused on getting outs, and so I never really needed a changeup because I could throw fastball, curveball, get guys out. But one thing Ricky harped on was, hey, you're going to need a changeup, you're going to need a third pitch. Throw it in these odd counts. Who cares what happens? That's what this experience is for. And so just continuing that here, it's meant the world.
That's interesting. The other thing is Brooklyn was probably the last real competition that you had. How valuable was that, draw on that and moving forward?
It was extremely valuable. I think, getting my feet wet there, first outing, obviously jitters and being, obviously being pretty timid, I'd say. But I think after my first outing, it was like, whoa, like your stuff plays here. Like you can get outs here. This is above competition of low A or whatever. And I think for me, the biggest thing was just realizing like, hey, like believe in yourself. You belong here. You've put in the work to be here. You can get outs here. I think that's probably the biggest thing for jumping to each level. I kind of look at that as a level jump, going from GCL to short season to there, facing guys with multiple years of big league time, going up and down. I think it was just after that first week, after that first outing, it was like, hey, like believe in yourself, like your stuff plays here and it plays really well. Not like it's kind of hit or miss. It's like, no, you can have a subpar day stuff-wise and still get plenty of outs. And so that's kind of the approach that I started taking, was just like be confident in yourself that like you belong to be here and you sure as heck can get outs here. So
thanks. Good luck.
thank you.
Next question is from Tim Britton.
Hey Matt, with spring training so short last year, how well did you get to know Ricky in spring? And then what was how often did you guys talk? What was the communication like before you got to Brooklyn later in the summer?
So after he got hired, him and Mike Cather actually came down to Orlando. We went and had lunch, and it was kind of just like he called me beforehand and said like, hey, my name's Ricky. I'm going to be your new pitching coordinator. Start that dialogue. And then we went and had lunch in Orlando and continued the dialogue. I think just to kind of, see like, obviously, where's my head at? What are my core beliefs? What am I working on? What are my strengths? What am I trying to work on? And then, for him to kind of communicate like, hey, this is what I believe in. Let's try to, merge and work together as much as possible. And so I think that going into spring training was huge, because then when I saw him, it was like, hey, I've already seen you in person, like, kind of a deal. And then in spring training, again, it was huge having him around and just being able to feed off him. I think that initial process of the call to seeing him in person, with non-competition, non-baseball, just kind of having lunch, and then going into spring training really just segued easy. It was just super easy to transition. And then obviously we talked. He was my main point of contact during the whole COVID process, and he's been my main point of contact ever since. I send him all my video, all my data, all my questions basically go right to him. And so I think, again, just continuing to build that relationship has been huge.
Thanks.
Next question is from Rich Catino.
Hey, Matt, one of the recurring things that Jacob deGrom has always said to us in his tenure is focus on things you can control and don't really concern yourself with things you can't control. Was wondering, in your interaction with him, has that topic come up, and how helpful has that been if that topic has come up?
Yeah, for sure. No, it's definitely come up once or twice. I think I've heard him say that multiple times. Speaking from experience, it's definitely easier said than done. But he's harped on that again. Being around, or I've heard him say that, being around me and not being around me, just to the press and stuff like that. But yeah, that's definitely been a big thing that he's communicated, is control what you can control. If you make a good pitch and guy hits a home run, tip your cap. Like, you hit your spot, you threw a good pitch. That's all you can focus on. If your defense makes an error, move on. Like, you got to focus next pitch. The moment that you're starting to think about previous pitches and, oh man, this guy made an error, this, that, and the other, you're not putting your best foot forward for your next pitch. You're not putting all your energy into your next pitch, which could instantly get you a double play to get you out of the inning. But now you have guys on, first and second because you hit the guy, because you're not thinking about your next pitch. And so, his big thing is to, live in the moment and, like you said, control what you can control.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Members of the media, please remain in the room for manager Luis Rojas momentarily.